Do you have rigid team structures in your Agile release train, unable to adapt to real-world changes? If so, you could be impacting your time to market and your overall cost efficiency. Hey friends, I'm Ahmed, a skilled Agile and productivity coach based in the UK. On this channel, we explore productivity, agility, and joy in the workplace. In this video, we are going to cover a quick approach to doing micro adjustments to your team to reduce dependencies, improve team productivity, and also improve your overall delivery flow. One of the key benefits we have of PI planning is our ability to visualize the dependencies across the program for your Agile release train. This is really powerful information, but the point is, and the question is, what do we do with that information once we have it? Now, most people actually just stop there, but we're really missing a trick if that is what we are doing, right? Very frequently what happens is after PI planning, we come up with a program board. It's got all of the work that we need to do. We can see the dependencies, but we don't go any further. Surely one of the things that we want to be doing is we want to not just identify dependencies, but we also want to take steps to reduce those dependencies. Well, why, you may ask? Well, one of the things about dependencies is that dependencies really involve a lot of waste. And there's a lot of inefficiency, and it really impacts our ability to deliver that customer value. It's an interruption, if you like, of the flow of value, right? Now, what you may find is that in many organizations, we have what known as component teams, right? If that is the case, you're kind of stuck with that situation in the short term. How we deal with that situation, i.e. moving from component team to cross-functional teams, is a bit beyond the scope of this video. But what we are going to discuss over here is what can we do to identify any pinch points that are causing dysfunction so we can tactically solve those big areas of inefficiencies so that we can start to at least start the journey of moving towards more cross-functional teams. So let's have a look at an example. Let's just say, for simplicity's sake, we have just 3 teams now, right? We've got team A, which is an ordering team. We've got team B over here, which does the billing. And we've got team C over here, which does the customer management. Now, what we need to deliver, our feature in our PI planning, is something called order fulfillment for product X, okay? And that involves a number of stories that spans all 3 of these teams. So let's have a look and plot these just to simulate our PI planning and see what we would do once we start to identify some of the dependencies over there and what should our response actually be. So let's get started. So the first thing is, let's say the customer places an order. So let's just say that's being done by team C over here. We've got the customer billing. The customers need to be able to create a bill. Let's just say team B is doing that over here. Once the customer's placed an order, and then we need to be able to build that product, and that's team A, which is the ordering team. We need to be able to update the customer credit file. We need to do, in fact, even before that, we need to do a customer credit check. Once we've done that, we might want to update the customer credit file. Let's just say that's being done by team C, as well as customer credit maintenance. And then we need to give out receipts to our customer as well. So fairly standard, straightforward, run-of-the-mill order fulfillment kind of process, okay? So now, however, in this situation, when it comes to planning, we recognize that there's a dependency over here between the customer credit file when we need to update it, and an API that's that is currently being managed by the billing team. Again, you've got the customer credit maintenance over here. Story, again, requires that. So you've got a bit of dependencies going on over here now, right? Okay. So we've really got 2 options over here now. The first option, obviously, you could say, well, look, this is, we've had a look at the options and it doesn't look like there's anything that we can do. So that's the first option. You just leave it as it is and you accept that as part of the inefficiency, right? So that's kind of the default, if you like. But actually what we're trying to talk about in this video is what would we do to try and reduce that dependency. So you've got two options really. You can either look at moving the resources that would be working on the story B, which is the customer credit check and the APIs around the credit functionality, to team C. So you can move that down then, collapse that way. Or you could move these up over here into team B, whichever feels the most efficient and effective, okay? Either way, if you're to do that, what you end up doing is you're actually reducing the overall dependency. So let's just say, for example, we bring these up over here. So therefore, in that way, we cancel these dependencies. Those are not anymore. And we've got two individuals that need to move over now to this team as a result of this work now going over to team B. So what's happened is that we've now reduced our overall dependencies. That is likely to have a good impact on our overall time to delivery and reduce our friction and number of handoffs as well, which is always a really good thing. Right. Now, a couple of things that I'd like to point out though before we move on. So the first thing to point out is that as we're moving individuals around, we want to make sure that we bear in mind what the recommended team sizes are. So the maximum team sizes recommended by Scale Agile is that of 11. So I've gone to teams beyond that size, but as it starts to get much beyond that, what you start to find is the team communication starts to break down. So be a bit cautious about that as well. The other thing that we want to bear in mind is that as we're shifting the individuals, we're shifting their backlog items over there, the capacity of your team may change as well. So both capacities of both team B and team C may be impacted over there as well. Okay, so that's something that would need to be factored into the during the PI planning event as well. I'd expect the changes of the resources to be happening during the PI planning. And once your teams have got used to this way of working, then you can ask them to be able to highlight where the areas provide suggestions in terms of greater team movement. So there you have it, a quick approach in terms of reducing dependencies during PI planning. If you do this over time, over a number of PI planning, hopefully your dependencies should reduce somewhat. Of course, you're going to plateau, and then you'll have to look and see, especially if you're using component teams, how you can start to shift those over to cross-functional teams, which should reduce the overall number of dependencies. And ideally, you get to the position where your teams can actually deliver fully functioning features on their own with minimal dependencies as well. So I hope you found that useful. If you want to continue learning about PI planning efficiency, please check out my video on how to avoid common mistakes in PI planning that could be costing you thousands by clicking the link over here. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks very much. Goodbye.